Come.
Good morning to you, and thank you for making time for this topic. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I hope you're the same, Richard. But as the International Organization for Migration, what is your stance about the attacks? Are they xenophobic or just criminal acts?
I would say it's a combination of the two. I would say that to a certain extent, there are a number of people in South Africa that do harbor anti-migrant sentiments, unfortunately. But I would, from what we are hearing, from what we're seeing, the majority of the people that are involved in this looting and those crimes are simply opportunists and people taking advantage of the chaos of the disorder to quickly enrich themselves and take some stuff for free from hardworking businessmen that have come to South Africa to improve their own lives, but also to contribute to South African society. But I think there's no denying that there is an element of resentment against foreigners that drives this as well.
Now,
and I think an important point to make in that. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, migrants are often relatively easily recognizable, which makes it easier for criminals and mobs to single them out. What sort of measures you think are then acceptable for the migrants to protect themselves?
Well, I don't think migrants should be hiding. Migrants obviously have their cultural background, and they have their ethnic background, and indeed they may be easily recognized. But migrants should not have to hide in order to avoid being targeted. They have the right to be in the country to the extent that they are legally in the country, which is the case for many of those that have been targeted recently. And they should not be afraid of their safety just because they look or sound different than the South African citizens.
Now,
and I think it's an important.
You continue.
Yeah, and I think it's some of the anti-migrant sentiments that we're seeing, I think, are based on two misperceptions, and those misperceptions are that migrants are typically or migrants have come to South Africa to take advantage of the social system or to steal the jobs of the South Africans. And I think there's a lot of work that we have been doing and will continue to do to address these misperceptions, because that is what they are. The facts do not support those ideas. In fact, many migrants come to the country, they're very entrepreneurial. They're typically young, they're well educated, and they're hardworking. And the mere fact that they have taken up migration, left their country behind, left everything they know behind, and set up a new future in a new country, indicates that they are entrepreneurs. And research supports that.
Yes. But talking about that negative public perceptions of the migrants, which may cause them to be specifically targeted, what more? Because you're saying you have some programs in place, but what more can be done to change people's perceptions about foreigners in general?
And I'm really glad you asked that, because I actually wanted to invite you to come with me and visit some migrants that are actually very successfully integrated in society. Currently, the image that people are getting when they watch television is that migration is associated with violence, with looting, with chaos in the street. That is not what migration is about. And I think the reality in South Africa is that most migrants are very well integrated and very successful. An estimated 12% of the migrants in the country are actually entrepreneurs, and they employ South Africans. And many of them employ 3, 4, 5 or even more South Africans. So they're actually an important contributing factor to the economic development in the country. And it's something that we'd like to showcase. So to the extent that you'd be interested, I'm going out in 2 days together with the Somali ambassador to visit some Somali businessmen or migrants and show what life is like for migrants apart from the violence that we're seeing at the moment. And just to show that in many cases, they're perfectly integrated, perfectly accepted by the community, and respected and appreciated members of their community. So please join me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely think about that. But what do you think about government? Do you think that government must publicly also take a stand against the looting, the intolerance and discrimination to make these foreigners feel safer and more secure in this country?
Absolutely, and I think the government has. We have seen statements from senior government officials, including the president, and I think that's been very helpful. It's something that needs to go out. The government needs to demonstrate that this intolerance and the violence against migrants will not be tolerated. and I think measures are being taken to curb that violence. Also, the city of Tshwane has indicated that they would be willing to also show some of the positive cases of migration. And additionally, what is necessary, and the government has a role to play, and we stand ready to assist, is to bring the communities back together and make sure that we get the migrant communities and the host communities back around the table, back talking with each other, and see how we can restore normalcy in these areas.
Now, what's the
because the truth is, in many cases, people have been living alongside peacefully and very productively, and unfortunately, these incidents have led to a disruption of that normalcy, and I think we should do our best to restore that.
What sort of support are you giving to the foreigners that are affected?
Well, we're in close contact with the migrant communities, and we hear their concerns. We do advocate that migrants that do feel threatened don't risk their lives and leave the area where they live if they think that there's a significant risk to their safety. A number of migrants have indicated that they do not feel safe and that they wish to return to their home country. To the extent that that is the case, we facilitate the return of a number of migrants to their home country. But that is that's limited to specific situations, and we certainly, it's not something that we advocate in most cases, because in most cases we do feel that peaceful cohabitation and working together is possible.
Now, working together, peaceful habitation, that is what you say to us, but the Black Business Council says this morning that foreign nationals must be barred from trading in Soweto. How do you respond to something like that?
I don't think that's something that South Africa would want, and I don't think that's a majority. I don't think that's the opinion of the majority of the people in South Africa. From what we've heard from South Africans as well as from migrants, is that migrants are typically very welcome in the country and appreciated for their contribution in terms of economic development, in terms of the social contribution. So I don't think that opinion reflects the opinion of the majority of South Africa's citizens. There's certainly people that have a protectionist attitude to migrants coming into the country. I don't even think it's in the benefit of the country. As I mentioned, when you talk about 12% of the migrants being entrepreneurs, if you imagine 12% of these people leaving, ceasing their economic activity and firing the South Africans that they're employing, I don't see how that could be in anyone's interest. So to me, I don't think it's a very constructive statement.
Richard, thank you so much for your time and joining us here on AM News.
Thank you.
That was Richard Otts, the Chief of Missions for the International Organization for Migration.